O'Rourke's got a story that is both unfortunate and heartwarming. His career at Stanford decimated by injuries. He missed both his junior and senior year. Just an absolute blessing, he said to me, to be here playing the game right now.
And he strikes out swinging here. Second strikeout of the inning for Tommy O'Rourke.
The pitch. Gets him swinging. Huge first out of the inning.
The payoff is swung on and missed, strike three. Well, it was all Harbor Hawks tonight, a 6-1 final score.
Before we dive into your story, which I'm very, very interested with, I do want to make the point that you're back here in Hyannis for a second summer. Of course, 3 years split those summers, but what about Hyannis and the Cape League in general made you want to come back?
Yeah, I think, well, first of all, thank you for having me. Thank you for sitting down. I remember in 2022 when I was here for the first time, just how good of a summer that was in terms of the coaching staff, the people who really helped put everything on behind the scenes in the organization, and then just the bonds and the relationships you make with a new group of guys for the summer when you're here and your priority is playing, showing up to the field every day and winning baseball games together. So I had a really good experience the first time around, and I knew when I had a chance to come back to the Cape for a second time that there was no hesitation. I wanted to be here again with this program.
What's it like playing the best guys in the country day in and day out?
It's just a lot of fun. You know, it challenges you as a competitor. You have to show up every day regardless of whether you are going to play that day or not to prepare. I mean, there's something to do to get better and better prep you for the game every single day you wake up here. So that's one of the biggest things I've learned over the course of my entire college career, but especially being here at summer ball on the Cape when that's the priority every single day. We're at the field 5, 6, 7, 8 hours a day some days. So,
and not a bad spot to be stuck for the summer, right? You get to go on Cape Cod, be by the beaches. What's been your favorite part of that?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Not a bad place to be at all for the summer. The beach is right there. I think playing spike ball with the guys on the off days, or going to Fenway for a game, even though I'm a Yankees fan, but from Jersey.
I'm good with that.
But yeah, there's a bunch of different fun things to do around here, and just what makes it most special is doing it with your new teammates, your new friends, because you're going to know these guys for a long, long time after the summer's over.
You mentioned the Yankees and growing up in New Jersey as the start, obviously, of roots in baseball, but in sports as well. Was there a specific maybe Yankee game, moment from your childhood that made you fall in love with the diamond?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think, I've always really, really loved baseball and been into baseball, but some memories specifically growing up, went to the last game at the old Yankee Stadium and the first game at the new one. So that was a pretty cool experience. It was also at the game, Derek Jeter got his 3,000th hit, and so those are some experiences and memories that come to mind growing up in New Jersey, just out of the city. And
those are three colossal Yankee moments.
Yeah,
do you have recollection of the old Yankee Stadium?
Not much, other than maybe Monument Park and Center, and I think Jorge Posada hit a home run to dead center that game, if I remember correctly, or something along those lines. So, yeah.
You paid attention. Love that.
Try my best.
But you love baseball, and then you also pick up football from a very young age, and that obviously has a much greater bearing on baseball down the road for you. But what about football brought you love to the sport?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you can only play baseball for so long during the year in New Jersey, the fall and then the winter. So I grew up playing football, basketball, and baseball. Those are my big three. And then when I got to high school, no longer decided basketball was for me. Kind of stopped growing at a certain point, but I did still love football as a quarterback, and I love to kick. Probably more than anything, I like to kick. I picked that up when I was super young, kicking field goals, kickoffs, stuff like that, 3rd and 4th grade. Just randomly kind of got addicted to hitting the ball correctly, like 7 out of 10 times it would be terrible, and then the 3 out of 10 I'd do it correctly and be like, wow, this is really awesome. I just want to continue to get better at this. And then over time, never really got away from it. And every summer, fall, football season roll back around, and I'd start doing it again. And I got pretty good at some point.
I feel like, well, first of all, you did get very good, because was it 8th grade where you hit a 50-yarder? Or
Yes.
That's incredible. I mean, you had to be the talk of the town.
No, I don't think so. I think it was just everyone was just like, oh, whatever, it's cool, but
Oh,
no
really?
big deal.
There was no major reaction?
I think they were just used to it because I was kicking every single day before and after practice. They maybe were even like, what's this kid doing? Just like leave already. So
I feel like most kids growing up want to be the star quarterback, the wide receiver, even the safety or cornerback. But you picked kicking. You mentioned a bit about what kicking was, but do you find that you've applied some of the lessons from kicking to baseball?
Yeah, I think you absolutely can, and I think I have in some ways, right? In baseball, being a pitcher, there's a pre-pitch routine, there's a pitch clock. You kind of get into a rhythm and a tempo in terms of pitch to pitch in the process, and it's similar with kicking, right? You get steps back to the side, line it up, like the snap, the hold, all of that, like a lot of focus on the breath and slowing the moment down and doling everything out. So I think there are some similarities there for sure, and just being able to heighten the focus and the control of what you're doing, whether it's baseball or football, are things that I continue to get better at, and I think I've improved a decent amount over time.
And you make the choice to stick with baseball. Let's move into your college journey. You get recruited at Stanford. Obviously, you've got MLB roots with some of your cousins being drafted into the league, but what was the adjustment like to college ball, knowing that you've got that baseball history?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, my mom's 2 brothers, my 2 uncles, are very, very big influences on my baseball career. They both played minor league baseball, very successful draft picks out of high school, out of college, Team USA and whatnot. So I think growing up with that just gave me a lot of joy and just generally love for the game, because I looked up to these guys and all of that. So being able to go to Stanford and chase that dream of a Division I baseball scholarship and also go to a great school, get a great degree, that was really a dream come true. And I remember that like it was yesterday, being in Florida, sophomore in high school, pitching at a tournament, and trying to impress college coaches and going from hotel to hotel with my dad and all of that, and just super grateful that I was fortunate enough to have parents who were going to travel all over the place with me and help me get recruited and start that journey.
Interesting you bring up your sophomore year specifically, because I believe you threw a no-hitter that year at Seton Hall Prep, right? Was it?
Yeah,
was
maybe.
maybe.
Probably.
Is there?
I think there might have been a 5-inning no-hitter that we run ruled a team or something. I don't know.
A no-hitter's a no-hitter, right?
If you want to count it, you can, yeah.
But it's incredible that you were able to impress him that much, because you impressed him so much that they played you a ton in those first 2 years. Over 50 appearances in your first 2 years in Stanford. Did playing that much set you on a trajectory to eventually have the baseball career that you did?
Yeah, I'd say so. I think I got thrown into the fire pretty early my freshman year. We had a really, really talented group of guys, position players and pitchers. All of us contributed to that 2020-2021 Stanford team. And yeah, we all threw a ton of games, and there were a lot of learning moments because we were young, coming off of COVID, haven't competed in a year and a half, 2 years in baseball. So you're relying pretty much on just pure, I don't know, it's like you kind of compare it to riding a bike, right? You get back on it, you're a little rusty, but over time you get back into the things that you're good at and whatnot. So that's what we relied on. And yeah, from there we just kind of sophomore year, and then a bunch of those guys threw a ton to their junior year. So
you got a Pac-12 championship in 2022. That had to feel good, but how did you manage some of those teachable moments to lead to that success?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing as a younger pitcher in college and aging throughout that process is the consistency and how you show up when the coach gives you the ball, right? as a coach, you want to feel really confident that you're going to get some consistency. You know what you're going to get from this guy. And I think the biggest difference from being a freshman, a sophomore, junior to a senior is like that improves drastically from year to year. And you can be a bigger contributor and eventually help your team win conference championships and get to Omaha and things like that. But it does take time.
You had the chance to get into a pretty high leverage situation in Omaha. Not to bring up the sour ending for Stanford. It's, I guess, ironic that you ended up going to Vanderbilt, your opponent in that game. But what was the feeling of being at Charles Schwab Field like?
Yeah, it was unbelievable. I mean, at that point in time, I'd never experienced something like that in baseball. And I vividly remember Game 1, the flyover in Omaha. It's just chills down my spine. It's unbelievable. And you know, you really take those moments in because you don't know if you're ever going to be able to experience them again. So really, really cool experience going there my freshman, sophomore year. And then obviously the team went my junior year, and being able to be behind them and what those are some of my closest friends to this day, watch them chase that. So.
And you mentioned your junior year. Unfortunately, you weren't able to join them as you injured your lat. Take me back to that moment when you first felt the pain. What was going through your mind?
Yeah, so I mean that injury is pretty rare. If you ask, doctors or surgeons these days, pitchers are getting really, really good at protecting their elbows and their shoulders and whatnot, taking care of their bodies. And it's just a new thing that maybe pitchers have to take more action ahead of time on and prep their bodies and just continue to workshop and find new ways to stay healthy, right? So I felt completely healthy and really, really good my entire junior year of fall and winter, and was pitching really well, right? In inter squads and all of that. It was going to be a big contributor to the team and hopefully help the team win a lot of games out of the bullpen. And a week before the season, ended up getting injured with the lat and needing surgery and missing that junior year. So I learned a lot from that process about myself and what it means to be a good teammate and care about others and take care of yourself too, and how to be more than just a baseball player away from the baseball field. So overall, challenging year for me, but also really, really productive year as well.
What were some of those things that obviously you had to unfortunately endure it again with re-aggravating the injury that next fall, but what were some of those things that you took from recovery 1 to recovery 2 that stick with you today?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is routines, and routines that are specific to you in terms of what your body needs, right? Everyone's body's different. Everyone uses their body different in this game. So on a daily basis, having a solid routine and foundation of just maintaining mobility and health and all of that stuff. So, I mean, I've had great resources at hand for a very long time now at Stanford and at Vanderbilt. So learning from all of that information, implementing it to how I can use it best for myself has been huge, and is one of the biggest reasons why I've been able to get past that injury and feel as great as I do right now.
Did you seek inspiration from pro athletes, from teammates, from coaches while you were recovering?
It's actually a really good question because when I was very young, I don't remember how young, but I remember seeing a YouTube video about a day in the life of Michael Lorenzen, right? He's a pitcher in the big leagues, has been there for a while now, and super physical guy, but also you see behind the scenes how much work he puts in on a daily basis, right? Just in terms of his routines and day-to-day, how he structures his day around baseball and life and things like that. So I think that was, in some sorts inspiring for me during that process, seeing how he wakes up and gets after it, and trying to incorporate that into my process.
I don't imagine field goal kicking was in Michael Lorenzen's process, but it was in your process. How was kicking a solace for you during that time?
Yeah, I think when I was going through that injury, that I just needed to get away and compete with myself in some other way, right? I like competition. I like competing, whether it's, this summer I've gotten into pool. There's a pool table in my host family's basement, so me and Matt Mura have been playing hours every night, and like it gets competitive. We don't want to lose, so I think that was just a way of me competing with myself, right? I want to make these field goals, and also something I grew up really enjoying, doing. So that was almost in a way therapeutic for me, just to get out on the football field and challenge myself with something else, take my mind away from baseball while I was figuring out how to get back healthy. So.
And you come away from those setbacks, and then you go to Vanderbilt to play for the team that eliminated Stanford in 2022. What was it like joining Tim Corbin in that squad?
Yeah, so I mean, when my time had come up at Stanford and I got my degree, and I couldn't have been more appreciative of the experiences and the time I spent there, the coaching staff, all of my teammates. I absolutely love everyone there. It was a great experience. And then had the opportunity to join Coach Corbin and Coach Brown at Vanderbilt, and that was awesome. Every minute of it, honestly. I got there, was at the tail end of my rehab, was just about healthy, and in the fall, Brownie and I, we were just working to get back to 100%, and ended up getting back in 2 or 3 fall games at the end, and velo was back up. I was pounding the strike zone, felt really good, was recovering. So at that point, we were really happy with things and going to go to winter break, come back and get ready for the season. And it was almost as if there was uncertainty going in there, right? Like, okay, this kid, we know he's doing everything he possibly can to get back healthy, and he's got a good track record. He's pitched, he's had success. Do we know if he's going to get healthy? Do we know if he's going to get back? And I completely understand where anyone's coming from with that. You never know with these things. They can be difficult and they can be challenging, but when it came to my thought process of joining that program and going there for a grad year, there was no question I was going to be healthy and I was going to get there and help the team win and compete. So
you said that you wanted to compete not only in the SEC but within the Vanderbilt pitching room. It's a highly decorated program. Tim Corbin's won a ton. What was it like being in with some of the best guys in the country trying to compete for innings?
Yeah, it's challenging day in and day out, whether it's in the pitching lab, whether it's in the weight room, whether it's on the field during practice. Everyone wants to play there, and everyone deserves to be on the field. It's one of the most talented programs in the country, and Corbs and Brownie have had a tremendous amount of success, especially on the pitching side. Brownie's done a great job, and I think that's what makes the pitching staff so successful, is the internal competition and how you can have that, but at the same time have chemistry amongst the staff and great relationships, and that just makes for a really good pitching staff in college when you can have that.
And you come off this year in Vanderbilt. Unfortunately, it didn't go your guys' way after an SEC tournament victory, so you've got yourself a couple of conference championships in your career. Now you're in Hyannis with the MLB draft in sight. What's the emotion right now?
I think the emotion is the same, right? I've showed up every single day, and every day there's something different to accomplish or do, whether it's in the game or on the side or away from the field. So I'm just hanging tight, and I know that I'm going back to Vanderbilt, or I could potentially sign and move on to pro ball. So it's exciting, but at the same time, I'm staying pretty level with it, and I know that it's a win-win regardless, right? So I've kind of been in this position for 2 years now where, like, hey, we don't really know what's going to happen next year, right? But either way, we're going to put our best foot forward and be okay with things. So that's what I've done up to this point, and I feel really good about it.
That's the beauty of the unknown, right? We look, everything happens for a reason, and in your specific case, you said at one point that you didn't know if you'd be throwing the baseball again. Now you're not just throwing it, but you have had success now in 2 summers on the Cape, and wherever it leads you, you know that you'll be able to do that. But do you ever have time to reflect on this whirlwind of a college baseball career?
Yeah, absolutely. I think in terms of reflecting, I can just take pride and, almost be proud of myself for getting to this point after getting through those 2 years of injuries and setbacks, right? Because guys in this game a lot of times are perfectionists and are really hard on themselves and have a tough time doing that, right? Have a tough time being proud of themselves and taking pride in what they've accomplished and what they've done. And I think it's really good to take a step back and, you know, be like, hey, we've had some success. We've worked hard. We've done some good things here. Now, just keep going, and we can be okay with whatever.
You sure have accomplished a lot, Tommy. Thank you so much for this. Really appreciate it, and best of luck to you.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you.